Hello again, everyone. It's me, Justin, for 1001 Movie Reviews You Must See Before You Die. Tonight I will be reviewing the movie Strike from 1924, directed by the legendary Sergei Eisenstien. This is another movie in the first bunch of movies in 1001 Movies You Must See Before You Die that I was definitely looking forward to. I had heard a lot about Eisenstein and how he was considered one of the legendary silent filmmakers of the era, and I was definitely looking forward to this movie. So here's what I wrote down about Strike. First off, this is the first Russian movie I've ever seen. Just thought I'd throw that a little bit out there. I'd never really seen a Russian movie because, like, when you think Russian movies, you know, there's really not. I mean, I think of maybe Eisenstein is the only famous Russian director that I've actually heard of that has produced anything of noteworthy like this, and probably his most famous film, Battleship Potemkin, which I will be reviewing in a few weeks when it comes from. Actually, it's coming in Netflix tomorrow, so I'll be getting to that within the next couple of reviews. Anyway, yeah, this was the first Russian film I saw, and I was very impressed. It was everything I thought it would be, amazing imagery and whatnot. Anyway, moving on. Well, it's about a factory strike that takes place in Russia, and there's this great little scene of how everyone falls into place in their place in the hierarchy, and it was really good to see this one scene where one person calls one person, and then the next person up, and the next person up, and the next person up. I thought it was really clever how they shot the film so that it would the edits went from one phone call to the next phone call to the next phone call, and it was very cool to see how the whole factory system in Russia in that time period took place, or how it was all, what's the word I'm looking for, how it was all put together, in the factory sense. Anyway, there's this great little scene where I couldn't figure out exactly who these spies were working for. I think it was for somewhere in the upper hierarchy. They were working as spies to tell what was going on with the workers. But there's a great little scene where each spy has an animal name, and they did these great fades that it faded from the person to the animal. But what was great about it is the fades made it look so that it faded from the animal's face to the person's face, and it faded almost perfectly. So it was almost like that. It was almost like they were morphing from an animal to a human, and I thought that was a really clever bit of editing in the movie. Moving on. The only thing that really made me laugh in this movie is the fact that they had their secret meetings. The workers that were planning the strike had their secret meetings in the bathroom, and one guy, I guess the leader, was sitting on the toilet, and he was standing on the toilet, and that was probably the only little thing that made me laugh in the entire movie, because it was a pretty serious movie about a workers' strike. Anyway. And leads me to my next point about how serious this movie was. A worker commits suicide because the factory owner calls him a thief. But you see a shot of somebody else stealing some kind of tool from the factory, and for whatever reason, I couldn't figure this out, and I thought this seems really odd. Isn't this when a person is feeling like they had shamed themselves? Isn't that a Japanese type of thing, to commit suicide? And it was kind of confusing as to why. And I'm just assuming that the guy's pride was just so hurt that he could never live with himself for being called a thief. And that's what leads the workers to strike. And it leads me to my next little point, where when they were striking, I half expected Norma Ray to show up and stand up on top of a machine and hold up a strike card that read strike in Russian, like in Norma Ray, where Sally Fields' character stands up and holds up a card that says union on it, and all the workers shut their machines down and they go on strike. Anyway, moving on. after the strike goes down, you see what a great time that the workers that are now don't have to work. They're having a great time the first day after the strike goes down. And you see the factory owner, and like every little thing that goes bad, it just seems to be even worse because his factory workers are on strike. And that was another little moment that made me laugh in the film. But there's, like I said, there's not many moments in this film that made me laugh. But yeah, and then and after that, you see the strike dragging on, and how the workers are they're suffering because of it, because they have they're not being paid anything, so how do they eat? And you see and you really see how serious the strike dragging on is for them. You see a family, the one guy, he's pawning off everything in their house just so that they have money to buy food, and another guy throws his kid down because he's ticked off because he can't buy cigarettes or tobacco to smoke, and it just shows how serious the strike was for these workers. Anyway, moving on. There's this brilliant little shot where one of the spies is spying on this one guy, ripping down a poster of the factory owners not meeting the demands of what the striking workers want, and he tears the poster down, and I couldn't figure out what they were trying to. I think they were trying to arrest him for vandalism or something, but there's this great little stop motion shot where one of the spies takes a picture, and you see a freeze frame, and it really made me wonder if maybe Eisenstien was the first ever to use that technique in a movie. If anyone knows, by all means let me know. Moving on, there's this really weird shot, weird but surreal, and it was kind of morbidly interesting for me, where this one shot with these dead cats hanging off of these rafters or these beams, and it looks so real. It looks so weird, but in a morbid way, it was kind of beautiful to see. And then there's another shot where these workers, they come out of graves. This was a section of the movie where I was kind of confused as to what was going on in regards to the workers themselves, but it was a really, really weird shot of all these workers coming out of these freshly dug graves, and it made me think of maybe there was a whole metaphor as to why, maybe they had dug themselves their own grave, and that this strike, that was the only place it was going to lead them to, and this was just a metaphor for it. Anyway, there's another shot where they're basically having a riot, and it makes me wonder, how far back does spraying protesters with fire hoses go back? I mean, could this be the first ever historical, what's the word I'm looking for? The first time that this has ever happened in history, with protesters being sprayed by fire hoses. Once again, if somebody knows that, feel free to let me know.